Prologue. I lie unconscious. The green light within me is dim, but not extinguished. It lingers beneath my skin like an ember refusing to die, steady even as my body fails to respond. The room is quiet. Then something changes. Emily's pink light stirs. Not violently. Not in fear. Instinctively. It reaches toward the fading green glow not as a flare of power, but as recognition. A child reaching for something familiar in the dark. At first, the two energies brush against one another gently. Then they harmonize. The pink does not overpower the green. The green does not dominate the pink. Instead, they synchronize two frequencies aligning into something deeper than either alone. A wave forms. Not explosive. Resonant. It pulses outward, beyond the room, beyond the kingdom, beyond the merged universe itself. It ripples across unseen boundaries, brushing the fragile seams between realities like a note struck too clearly to remain contained. In the space between universes, the blue light holder watches. Calm. Observant. Extraordinary, it says softly. Emily's pink light is not rare because of its color. Color carries no destiny. It is preference, imprint, identity. What makes her rare is its nature. Amplification, the blue light holder notes. Her light strengthens others. When harmonized correctly, it can elevate phase 1 power to the force of phase 3. A synergy few beings ever possess. Not dominance. Not destruction. Enhancement. The pulse continues outward. Across distant dimensions. Across realities yet untouched by fusion. In a universe far removed from ours, something else senses it. Not light. Not warmth. Corruption. A presence steeped in distortion and inversion pauses in its own dominion. It does not recoil. It studies. With cold fascination, it speaks. So the anomaly awakens. The resonance of green and pink does not frighten it. It intrigues it. If light can cross universes, its voice thins into something almost pleased. Then so can corruption. The ripple fades. The harmonized glow softens, settling back into the room where a child still clings to her father, unaware of what her instinctive act has signaled across creation. But far beyond the merged worlds, something has begun to prepare. Where they awaken together, the anti-light will follow. Chapter 1. What balanced me? I wake slowly. My body feels heavy, but not broken. Not fractured. Not torn apart the way it should have been. The memory of phase 2 still echoes faintly in my chest, warm, deep, overwhelming. I know what should have happened. Using that level of power before mastering it should have damaged me far worse. The drain alone should have left more than exhaustion. There should have been backlash. Instability. Consequence written into muscle and bone. But there isn't. Instead, something feels balanced. As clarity returns, I feel it. A softer presence woven into my own energy. Not external. Intertwined. Emily's pink light. It lingers faintly within the green glow beneath my skin, not replacing it, not overpowering it but stabilizing it. Where phase 2 had deepened too quickly, her light had responded. Not with force. With harmony. Before I can fully process it, small arms wrap around me. Daddy, you're awake. Emily's voice breaks against my chest as she cries into my shirt, relief stronger than any surge of power I've ever felt. I lift my arm slowly, still weak, and hold her gently. I'm here, I manage softly. Footsteps rush in. Tess appears in the doorway, breath quick, eyes sharp. She must have felt the shift in energy. The kitchen smell of dinner still lingers faintly behind her. What happened? She demands, crossing the room instantly. Her gaze scans me for damage that isn't there. I try to sit up straighter, but weakness pulls at my limbs. Don't think my voice falters. Emily pulls back just enough to look at Tess, wiping her face stubbornly with one hand. I fixed him, she says through sniffles. Tess freezes. You what? Emily's words tumble out in small, determined bursts. She explains how the green light dimmed. How it felt like it was going away. How her pink spark didn't like that. How it reached out without her telling it to. I didn't want it to break, she says quietly. So I held it. Held it. Not pushed. Not exploded. Held. Tess looks at me, stunned, not afraid, not panicked. Just understanding dawning slowly. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't random awakening. Emily's light didn't just activate near mine. It countered instability. It reinforced. It protected. The realization settles heavily in the room. Her light doesn't just exist alongside mine. It safeguards it. Phase 2 should have destabilized me. It should have torn deeper through channels I wasn't ready to sustain. But her amplification, her resonance smoothed the fracture before it could widen. She didn't just help. She stabilized phase 2. That changes everything. It means the pairing the blue light holder spoke of wasn't theoretical. It means phase progression may not be linear anymore. It means we are no longer operating within predictable limits. I hold Emily a little tighter, careful not to let fear creep into the moment. You didn't fix me, I tell her gently. You helped me. She nods seriously, as if that distinction matters. Tess exhales slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing just enough. We're going to need to understand this, she says quietly. I nod. Because this isn't just recovery. This is proof. The first true sign that our lights aren't just separate awakenings tied by family. They are synchronized. And if green and pink can harmonize this naturally, then whatever sensed that resonance across universes hasn't miscalculated. It has taken notice. And so must we. Chapter 2, Pink Frosting. Dinner is quiet. Not silent, never that, but warm. The kind of evening that almost feels normal, even after everything that has shifted in the world and inside me. The table is full, the lights soft, and for a little while the war feels like something happening somewhere else. Emily sits in her chair, swinging her legs as she talks about her upcoming second birthday like it's the most important event in existence. It has to be pink, she insists, hands waving excitedly. All pink. And sparkles. Sparkles. Tess raises an eyebrow dramatically. How many sparkles are we talking about? Lots, Emily answers immediately. More than Daddy can count. I smile despite the faint strain still lingering beneath my skin. Phase 2 left an echo in me, something deeper and heavier than exhaustion alone. I try not to let it show. The green light hums quietly, but it feels thinner than it should. What about flavor? I ask gently. Emily pauses, thinking hard. Pink flavor? Tess laughs, and even my parents join in. That's not a flavor, she teases. It is, Emily insists with absolute certainty. The conversation drifts between cake shapes, candle counts, and whether 2 candles are enough or if extra ones for practice are necessary. It's simple. Ridiculously simple. And perfect. Then the weakness hits. Not gradually. All at once. A wave of instability rolls through me, delayed consequences finally catching up. My vision blurs at the edges. The green light beneath my skin flickers unsteadily, no longer steady warmth but uneven pulses. I grip the edge of the table, trying to ground myself. Too late. The flicker deepens. And before it can spiral. Warmth. Gentle. Soft. Emily's pink light responds instinctively, like it did before. It presses against the instability without fear, without effort. It doesn't overpower my light. It stabilizes it. balances it. The flickering smooths. The world goes dark for just a moment. Then, Daddy. Her voice is the first thing I hear. I open my eyes slowly to find Emily hugging me tightly, tears clinging to her lashes. Daddy, you're awake, she whispers. Tess rushes in from the kitchen, sensing the shift in energy immediately. What happened, she demands, eyes scanning me, then Emily, then the air itself as if she can see what just occurred. I try to answer. Nothing comes out. I'm too weak to explain properly. So Emily does. Through sniffles and determination, she tells the story in her small voice. How my light went wobbly. How hers didn't like that. How she held it still. Tess listens in stunned silence. Not fear. Understanding. We all feel it now. This wasn't just recovery. This wasn't coincidence. Emily's light isn't just awakening near mine. It is intertwined with it. Protective. Resonant. Already synchronized in ways none of us fully grasp. I pull her close gently, feeling the steady warmth of pink and green settling together again. And I understand something with quiet certainty. Tonight wasn't about weakness. It was proof. Proof that we are no longer operating alone. Proof that the anomaly the universe noticed is growing. And proof that whatever comes next, it won't face just one bearer of light. Chapter 3 Harmonized. By the time I'm fully recovered, something is different. Not just physically. Fundamentally. Phase 2 no longer feels like a weight I'm barely holding together. It doesn't hum unpredictably beneath my skin or strain at the edges of control. The warmth that once felt heavy now feels integrated. Stable. Intentional. Mastered. Emily's pink light didn't just save me from collapse, it gave me the time I needed to cross the threshold properly. Where instability once fractured my control, there is now coherence. The green light responds cleanly when I call it, deep and steady instead of volatile. Phase 2 love is no longer something I'm trying to survive. It's something I understand. And I'm not the only one growing. Emily's control sharpens faster than either Tess or I expected. The pink glow around her hands no longer flickers unpredictably. It forms gently, intentionally. She can summon it in small bursts without breaking objects, without emotional spikes. And we realize something astonishing. She has already mastered phase 1 of her light. Amplification. Her pink glow doesn't overwhelm. It doesn't distort. It enhances. When she stands beside me during training, the green light deepens naturally, becoming stronger without becoming unstable. When she stands near elven wards, they reinforce subtly. When she focuses near human spellcraft, it sharpens without surge. Her power doesn't replace. It elevates. A rare and invaluable ability. We begin training together regularly, not recklessly, not testing limits for spectacle but carefully. Intentionally. I let her practice harmonizing with my light in controlled intervals, feeling the resonance between us instead of forcing synchronization. Our lights do not collide. They harmonize. What once felt like coincidence now feels deliberate. Designed. Not by prophecy. Not by destiny. But by structure deeper than we understand. And yet, beneath the progress, beneath the warmth of shared growth, there is tension in the air I cannot ignore. I felt it the moment our lights surged together across realities. Something else felt it too. I don't know where it is. I don't know what form it will take. But I know this with absolute certainty. The resonance did not go unnoticed. Somewhere beyond our merged universe, something steeped in inversion, something patient has begun moving. The anti-light is not a rumor. It is not myth. It is response. And while phase 2 now rests steady within me, and Emily's amplification grows more precise by the day, I understand the truth settling quietly into my chest. Harmony has awakened. which means opposition will follow. Not if. When. Chapter 4, When Absence Walks. The anti-light does not arrive with thunder. It does not tear the sky open. It simply appears. One moment the battlefield is tense but ordinary, the next, it stands there. A figure shaped like a person, but utterly black. Not shadow. Not darkness. Absence. Light does not reflect off it. It does not bend around it. It simply fails to exist where the figure stands, as if the concept of illumination has been denied permission. No face. No eyes. And yet I know it sees us. When it moves with certainty. No hesitation. No testing. The battle begins without announcement. I step forward first, phase 2 flowing through me with steady warmth. Love-fueled light spreads outward, forming shields, shaping force. It feels strong. Stable. Then it meets the anti-light. The contact is not explosive. It is quiet. And wrong. The green glow dims slightly upon impact, not extinguished, but muted. As if the anti-light is not overpowering it, but swallowing it. Not pushing back, but consuming what it touches. Designed for this. I adjust immediately, narrowing my output, refining control. But every strike feels absorbed. Every barrier feels thinned. Emily steps forward. No fear. We don't speak. We don't need to. She anchors herself against my back exactly as we practiced, small hands steady, feet planted, pink light blooming outward in a soft but unwavering glow. Amplification. Her phase 1 answers my phase 2 instantly. The green light deepens. Stabilizes. Expands. It doesn't surge wildly. It elevates. Where phase 2 alone meets resistance, phase 2 amplified begins to press forward. The warmth intensifies, not unstable, not frantic. Controlled power rising beyond its natural threshold. Phase 4 intensity. Without fracture. The battlefield trembles. Love-fueled light collides with void-born corruption, and for the first time, the anti-light reacts not in fear, but in recalibration. Its form distorts slightly where our combined energy presses against it. Not destroyed. Not harmed. But acknowledged. The sky cracks faintly above us as opposing forces grind against one another. Soldiers fall back, unable to approach the center of impact. Elven wards flicker. Human mages struggle to contain the peripheral shock waves. We push. Together. Every ounce of control matters. If I overextend, the amplification will amplify instability too. If she falters, the boost collapses. We hold steady. The anti-light finally shifts backward, not thrown, not shattered but displaced. It pauses. Then withdraws. No dramatic explosion. No vow of revenge. Just retreat. It dissolves into the air as if it was never fully there to begin with. Silence falls. Emily's pink glow dims gently. My green light settles heavily beneath my skin. My legs tremble, but I refuse to collapse. She holds on just as firmly. We are standing. But barely. We did not win. We survived. And as I look at the empty sky where absence once stood, one truth settles deeper than exhaustion. If that was only a fraction of its true power, then the war ahead will demand more than harmony. It will demand evolution. And next time, survival may not be enough. Chapter 5, The Silver Duelist. Surviving the anti-light does not feel like victory. It feels like a warning. 4 days afterward I replay the battle in my mind, the way my light dimmed against that void, the way every strike felt swallowed before it could truly land. If Emily hadn't been there to amplify me, if the anti-light had stayed longer, if the fight had lasted even a few minutes more, I know exactly how it would have ended. I would have died. That realization sits heavy in my chest, heavier than any wound. Power alone is not enough anymore. The enemies appearing now aren't brute monsters or corrupted soldiers. They are calculated, deliberate, and terrifyingly adapted. Fighting them with raw strength and fists even enhanced by the green light is like swinging a hammer at a blade. I need skill. Precision. A weapon that doesn't rely on overwhelming force. Which means there's only one person in Canthar I can learn from. Lucien Valtherus. The Silver Duelist. His name still carries weight even years after his retirement. Once the greatest fencing champion in the world, a man who defeated dozens of challengers without ever losing a formal duel. Soldiers, nobles, and adventurers still speak about his matches as if they were legendary battles. Now he lives far from the cities, in quiet isolation where war and politics cannot reach him. Or at least, where they usually cannot. The small house sits near the edge of a forest clearing when I finally find it. There are no guards, no banners, no signs of the legend who lives there. Just an older man standing calmly outside, polishing a rapier. He looks up before I can even speak. So, he says evenly, the boy with the green light finally arrives? I stop. You knew I was coming. Lucien shrugs slightly. When the sky trembles and rumors spread of a man fighting darkness itself, it tends to travel. His sharp gray eyes study me carefully. But I didn't expect you to come asking for help. I'm not here for power, I tell him honestly. He smiles faintly. Good. Because I don't teach power. He taps the tip of his rapier against the ground. I teach control. Lucien agrees to train me but only after proving I understand what I'm asking for. The first lesson is brutal. He disarms me in less than 2 seconds. I barely see him move. No green light, he says calmly as my weapon hits the dirt. No magic. No shortcuts. He tosses 2 rapiers toward me. You want to survive monsters? Then learn to fight like a human first. The weapons he gives me are perfectly balanced. Twin rapiers forged with emerald-tinted steel that catches the light with a faint green shimmer. I name them immediately. The Emerald Blades. Lucien raises an eyebrow when I introduce them. They're identical, he says. Exactly. Then I show him something else. My right-hand sword is named Left. He pauses. And the other? My left-hand sword is named Right. Lucien stares at me for several seconds. Then he laughs. Confusing your opponent with your own commands, clever. Training under Lucien is relentless. He teaches me that dual rapiers are not about wild attacks, they are about balance. One blade speaks. The other listens. He drills me in multiple combat styles, each one designed to build a different instinct. Mirror style. One rapier defends while the other attacks, the 2 blades moving like reflections of each other. When an opponent strikes, one blade catches the attack while the other punishes the opening. Every defense should already contain your counter, Lucien reminds me. Storm style. Speed. Relentless pressure. Rapid strikes from constantly shifting angles. Your enemy cannot predict what never stops moving. Phantom style. Footwork and deception. False openings. Sudden shifts of direction. You don't defeat a stronger opponent by hitting harder, Lucien tells me. You defeat them by letting them hit nothing. Lock style. Precision trapping. One blade captures an opponent's weapon while the other delivers the decisive strike. Control the blade, control the fight. Weeks turn into months. Slowly, painfully, my body begins adapting. The emerald blades feel less like tools and more like extensions of my arms. The green light still flows beneath my skin, but I stop relying on it for every movement. Instead, I begin merging Lucien's lessons into something new. Something mine. A dual rapier combat system built around speed, misdirection, and relentless combinations. Lucien watches one evening as I demonstrate the first techniques. Your style needs a name, he says. I nod. Emerald attacks. The techniques come naturally after that. Emerald flash. A lightning-fast strike meant to land before an opponent can react. Emerald cross. Both blades cutting across the target in a powerful intersecting attack. Emerald spiral. A spinning defensive motion that deflects attacks while positioning for a counter-strike. Lucien watches quietly as I finish the sequence. For a long moment he says nothing. Then he nods once. You're finally starting to understand. Understand what? He gestures to the blades in my hands. That strength is loud. He taps one rapier lightly against the other. But mastery is silent. I look down at the emerald blades, feeling their balance in my grip. For the first time since the anti-light appeared, I feel something new. Not just power. Confidence. Because the next enemy that appears won't face just a wielder of the green light. They'll face a swordsman. Chapter 6 Lessons from Two Worlds. Training with Lucien is relentless. Every morning begins the same way, footwork drills before sunrise, blade control exercises until my arms ache, and sparring matches that end with me flat on my back more often than not. Lucien never raises his voice. He never insults my mistakes. He simply corrects them. Again. And again. And again. Too slow. Too wide. Your center is exposed. His critiques are calm, precise, unavoidable. Weeks pass like this, my movements slowly sharpening, my instincts adjusting to the rhythm of the emerald blades. The green light remains present beneath my skin, but Lucien insists I barely touch it during training. You already know power, he tells me one afternoon after disarming me yet again. Now you learn control. I sit on the edge of the training field, catching my breath as the sun dips toward the trees. And then something strange happens. A memory surfaces. Not from Canthar. From Earth. Two YouTube channels I used to watch late at night when I couldn't sleep. Cell Sword Arts. Cell Sword Fencing. Both focused on real sword combat footwork, blade positioning, historical techniques, breakdowns of dueling strategies. At the time it had just been interesting to watch. Now the memory lands differently. A realization follows immediately after. When I was summoned, I had my phone. The thought makes me sit up straight. There's no way it still works. Months, maybe years have passed since then. But curiosity wins. I dig through my old pack, pushing aside spare cloth and small supplies until my fingers brush against something familiar and rectangular. My phone. The screen is dark, the surface scratched but intact. Lucien, I say slowly, this might sound strange. That would be a refreshing change, he replies dryly. I press the power button. Nothing happens. Then. A faint vibration. The screen flickers. Lights up. I stare at it. The battery icon appears. Still charged. I blink in disbelief. Lucien leans over my shoulder. What exactly am I looking at? A miracle, I mutter. Even stranger. There's signal. Data. No explanation. No magical interface. Just the same phone I brought from Earth. I don't question it too much. I just open the video app. The first video loads slowly, the screen buffering before revealing something almost surreal. A fencing instructor demonstrating stance alignment and blade angles. Lucien watches silently as the man on the screen explains foot positioning with calm precision. Interesting, Lucien murmurs. I spend hours studying the videos. Footwork diagrams. Timing drills. Distance management. Real-world fencing concepts that focus on economy of movement and predictive positioning. Things Lucien already teaches but explained through a different lens. Two worlds. Two traditions. The ideas begin connecting in my mind. Lucien's centuries-old dueling knowledge from Canthar. Modern fencing principles from Earth. They don't contradict each other. They reinforce each other. The next day I bring the concepts to training. When Lucien attacks, I adjust my stance using a subtle positioning trick I saw demonstrated in one of the videos. The result surprises both of us. His strike misses by barely an inch. I counter immediately. For the first time since training began, I land a clean hit. Lucien freezes. Then slowly smiles. Where did you learn that? I hold up the phone. Another world. Chapter 7, Weapons of Light. As my control over the green light deepens, the way I think about it begins to change. For a long time, I treated the light as something I used, a force that reinforced my body, strengthened defenses, or amplified strikes. Even when I mastered Phase 2, it still felt like energy flowing through me rather than something I could shape completely. But during one of Lucien's training sessions, an idea surfaces. If I can shape the green light into shields, if I can form barriers and waves of force, why not weapons? At first, the experiment is simple. I close my eyes and focus, letting the green light gather in my hands the way I would when forming a defensive construct. Instead of spreading it outward, I compress it, narrowing the energy until it takes shape. Slowly, carefully, the outline of a blade forms. A rapier. Not steel. Light. The construct flickers slightly at first, the edges unstable, the length uneven. When I swing it, the blade dissolves into scattered particles of green. Lucien watches from the side of the field. You're trying to forge it, he says. I nod. Then stop forcing it, he replies. Let the shape exist first. Power second. I try again. This time I imagine the weapon first, the length of the blade, the curve of the guard, the balance of the grip. Only after the shape is clear do I let the green light flow into it. The result is different. The rapier forms cleanly. Stable. I test the weight. It feels almost identical to the emerald blades. Lucien steps forward and taps the construct with his own rapier. The light blade doesn't collapse. Better, he says simply. Encouraged, I push further. Soon I'm able to form two constructs at once, perfect replicas of my twin rapiers made entirely from green light. They respond to my movements instantly, balanced and precise, almost indistinguishable from real steel. The emerald blades reborn in energy. But once the foundation works, my curiosity refuses to stop there. A memory from Earth surfaces again. Guns. Firearms were never part of Canthar's technology. Magic replaced most of the need for them. But I remember how they worked: trigger, barrel, projectile. So I try something unusual. Instead of forming a blade, I reshape the light into something different. Angular. Compact. The shape of a handgun. Lucien stares at the construct. What exactly is that supposed to be? A weapon from my world, I answer. I aim at a distant training dummy. Instead of ammunition, I compress the green light inside the construct and release it. A concentrated burst of energy fires forward. The beam strikes the target instantly, punching a glowing hole straight through the wood. Lucien blinks. Interesting. But the real breakthrough comes later. If I can shape constructs, if I can fire them, why do I have to hold them? I release the weapon from my hand. The green light doesn't dissipate. It floats, hovering beside me. With careful concentration, I command the construct to aim. Another burst fires, this time without me touching it. The training dummy splits apart. I grin slightly. Lucien crosses his arms. So now you fight with swords and flying weapons. Looks like it. Over the following weeks, I refine the idea further. Floating constructs orbit around me like silent guardians, firing bursts of green energy at targets I designate. Meanwhile, the emerald blades move in my hands, striking and defending in rapid combinations. Sword and support fire. Steel and light. The battlefield possibilities multiply instantly. But as exciting as the discovery is, the realization that follows is sobering. Every new ability increases complexity. Every new technique increases risk. The more versatile the green light becomes, the more dangerous it becomes if I lose control. Lucien notices my hesitation. Good, he says. Good. He nods. The moment power stops worrying you, is the moment it starts owning you. I look down at the glowing constructs hovering around me. Blades of light. Weapons from another world. Energy that answers every command I give it. And I understand something important. The green light is no longer just a weapon. It's becoming an entire arsenal. Which means mastering it will require more discipline than ever before. Chapter 8 Light that Mends. My experiments with the green light constructs continue long after the excitement of creating them fades. At first, the floating weapons are just another tool, useful, versatile, and impressive in combat practice. I can summon them quickly now, shaping them from the green light with far less effort than before. Some hover at my sides, others orbit behind me like silent guardians, ready to fire when I direct them. Lucien still watches with that calm, evaluating expression of his. You've built yourself an arsenal, he says one afternoon as a cluster of light constructs hovers nearby. Still working on mastering it, I reply. But during one of these training sessions, a thought hits me. Something obvious I somehow overlooked. The constructs shaped like guns, aren't firing bullets. They never were. They're firing the green light itself. Concentrated pulses of the same energy that shields cities, reinforces bodies, and sometimes heals wounds. That realization stops me mid-training. If the energy isn't physical ammunition, then it shouldn't be limited to destruction. The green light has always carried more than one purpose. It can shield. It can restore. It can protect. So why wouldn't these constructs be capable of doing the same? I don't bring the idea straight into combat testing. Something like that needs control first. So I look for a safer opportunity. I don't have to search long. Near the edge of the forest clearing, I find a small rabbit lying in the grass. Its breathing is shallow, one of its hind legs twisted badly. Maybe it was caught by a predator and escaped, or maybe it was simply unlucky. Either way, it won't survive long like this. I kneel beside it slowly so I don't frighten it further. Easy, I murmur quietly. The rabbit barely reacts. A light construct forms beside my hand, a small pistol-shaped projection of green energy. Normally, I would compress the light inside it for a powerful discharge. This time, I do the opposite. I relax the compression. Instead of shaping the energy for force, I guide it toward restoration. Gentle. Focused. When I pull the trigger, the weapon doesn't fire a destructive beam. It releases a soft pulse of green light. The energy reaches the rabbit and flows into it rather than through it. The effect is immediate. The twisted leg straightens gradually. Torn flesh seals. The animal's breathing deepens as strength returns to its body. Within seconds, the rabbit blinks and lifts its head. It sits there for a moment, confused, as if it doesn't understand why the pain has vanished. Then it hops. Once. Twice. By the third jump it's already moving quickly toward the trees. I watch it disappear into the forest. And the weight of the discovery settles slowly in my mind. These constructs aren't just weapons. They're delivery systems. The light gun doesn't create destruction. It delivers whatever form of green light I choose. Destructive force. Protective reinforcement. Healing. Restoration. Anything the green light can do, these constructs can carry. Lucien approaches quietly from behind me. "You look like someone who just solved a puzzle," he says. "Something like that." I look down at the hovering construct in my hand. Turns out they're not guns. He raises an eyebrow. "No. They're tools." The realization changes how I see them entirely. These constructs aren't just additions to combat. They're extensions of the green light itself. And that means the real limit isn't the weapon. It's my imagination and my discipline in deciding how that power should be used. Chapter 9: The Storm of Emerald and Pink. The demons return without warning. One moment the horizon is quiet, the wind moving gently through the fields outside the city. The next, the sky darkens not with clouds, but with corruption. A sickening pressure rolls across the land like a wave, and the ground itself seems to recoil. They are back. And this time, they come in numbers greater than anything we have seen before. Thousands. Their forms twist with heavier corruption than the previous invasions. Some tower over the battlefield like living fortresses, while others move with unnatural speed, their claws dripping with blackened energy that burns through earth and steel alike. The army forms quickly, but chaos spreads almost immediately. Elven mages struggle to stabilize defensive wards as the corruption eats at their barriers. Human soldiers push forward in disciplined formations, but even their numbers strain under the sudden flood of enemies. The battlefield tilts toward disaster before the fighting even properly begins. But this time, I am not fighting alone. Emily climbs into the reinforced training pack on my back with practiced ease. The pack was originally meant for travel, something simple to keep her secure during long journeys. But over the past weeks we modified it carefully, reinforcing it with both materials and magic so she could remain protected even in combat. Now it fits snugly around my shoulders, anchoring her safely against my back. Her arms wrap gently around my shoulders. "You ready, Daddy?" she asks softly. I glance back just enough to see the determined expression on her small face. "Always." Her pink light ignites first. Not explosively. Steadily. It spreads outward like a warm sunrise, flowing into the green light beneath my skin and amplifying it instantly. The familiar hum of Phase 2 deepens as the resonance forms between us. Her Phase 1 amplification. My Phase 2 love. Together they synchronize effortlessly. Power surges through me, but it doesn't spiral out of control like it once might have. Emily's light stabilizes the output automatically, smoothing the energy as it flows. It feels like breathing. Natural. Balanced. And with that harmony established, I step onto the battlefield. The emerald blades form first. Twin rapiers of green light materialize in my hands, their edges sharper than steel and perfectly balanced. The weapons respond instantly to my movements, extensions of both my skill and the power flowing through me. But this time, I summon more. Several green light constructs appear around me, floating weapons shaped like the firearms I created during training. They hover in a loose orbit above the battlefield, adjusting position as I move. 6 of them. Then 8. Then 10. Each one hums with concentrated green light. And when the first wave of demons charges, they fire. Precise bursts of emerald energy streak across the battlefield, striking targets before they can even reach the front lines. Demons collapse in flashes of green light as the shots punch through corrupted armor and bone alike. But not every burst is destructive. Some pulses arc downward toward wounded soldiers instead, releasing gentle waves of restorative light that seal injuries and restore strength. Blades and bullets. Destruction and healing. All at once. The army quickly realizes what is happening. Where demons once overwhelmed the lines, sudden bursts of green light now cut them down before they reach the soldiers. Wounded fighters who should have collapsed stand again as healing pulses reach them. The battlefield begins shifting. Not calm, but coordinated. I move forward through the front lines. Lucien's training guides every step. Footwork light. Movements efficient. The emerald blades flash through the air in precise arcs. Emerald flash. A lightning-fast thrust slips between a demon's ribs before it can react. Emerald cross. Both blades slice outward in intersecting strikes, cutting down two enemies at once. Emerald spiral. I spin through an incoming attack, deflecting claws with one blade while the other pierces the creature's throat. Storm style. Phantom style. Mirror style. The techniques Lucien taught me blend seamlessly with the emerald attack system I built. Demons fall not to overwhelming power but to precision. Behind me, Emily remains calm. Her pink glow continues flowing steadily into the green light, amplifying my output while maintaining stability. The effect is extraordinary. My movements feel faster, my strikes sharper, my reactions clearer. And she isn't just boosting me. Two smaller constructs appear in her hands, miniature rapiers of pink-tinged green light, carefully shaped for her smaller grip. Training weapons. Defensive tools. She doesn't attack the demons directly. She knows better than that. But if something breaks through, she will be ready. A soft emerald barrier surrounds her as well, a shield constantly reinforced by my power. It deflects stray attacks and protects her from the chaotic edges of the battlefield. She is not just riding on my back. She is part of the system. Amplifier. Stabilizer. Guardian. The floating guns continue firing across the battlefield, adjusting angles and targets automatically under my command. Some hover high above, striking distant enemies. Others sweep low, clearing paths for advancing soldiers. Healing pulses spread wherever allies fall. The army begins pushing forward. Human mages unleash coordinated spells where my shots weaken the enemy lines. Elven archers fire from behind strengthened barriers. For the first time since the demons appeared, the tide begins to turn. But the demons are not mindless. A massive corrupted beast crashes into the field, smashing through several defensive lines at once. Its body is covered in jagged black armor that absorbs most incoming attacks. Even the light guns struggle to penetrate it. "Daddy," Emily whispers. I see it. I shift my stance. Lucien's lessons guide the approach. Strength won't work. Precision will. I sprint forward. The creature swings a massive claw toward us, but phantom style carries me just outside its reach. I pivot sharply, using mirror style to deflect a secondary strike while stepping closer. Too close for its size to counter properly. Emily's amplification deepens. The green light brightens. I strike. Emerald flash. The rapier pierces a weak point beneath the creature's armor. Then, emerald cross. Both blades slash through the exposed corruption core at its chest. The beast collapses instantly. The rest of the demon forces begin to falter. With their largest enforcer destroyed and the battlefield saturated with emerald support fire, their advance finally breaks. They retreat slowly at first. Then rapidly. The army pushes forward just long enough to force them back beyond the corrupted boundary where they first emerged. And then, silence. I stand in the middle of the battlefield, breathing heavily. The floating constructs fade one by one as I release them. The emerald blades dissolve last, their light returning to the steady glow beneath my skin. Emily loosens her grip slightly. "Did we win?" she asks. I look across the field. Soldiers are helping each other up. Healers move among the wounded. The army is still standing. "Yes," I say quietly. But even as I say it, I understand the truth. Today we pushed them back. Today we were stronger. But somewhere beyond the battlefield, beyond the horizon of this world, the anti-light is still watching. And the real war hasn't begun yet. Chapter 10 Pink Candles. The day after the battle feels strangely peaceful. The battlefield has quieted. The corrupted ground is already beginning to heal under the combined work of elven mages and human restorers. For once, no alarms ring through the cities, no scouts rush in with reports of another approaching wave. Instead of preparing for war again, we do something far more important. We celebrate. The park near the edge of the city is bright with afternoon sunlight, its trees swaying gently in the breeze as if the world itself has decided to rest for a while. It isn't grand or decorated with magic banners or royal guards, just a simple patch of green space where families often gather. Today, it belongs to us. Mom and Dad arrive early with baskets of food we prepared together that morning. Nothing elaborate, just warm homemade dishes, breads, roasted vegetables, and a few sweets that remind me faintly of the meals we used to make back on Earth. It smells like comfort. Dad sets the folding table in place while Mom arranges plates and cups with careful precision, humming softly as she works. For a moment I can almost forget that this world once felt completely foreign to them. Now it feels like home. Tess stays close to Emily, who is running through the grass with the unstoppable energy only a child can have. She darts between the trees, occasionally stopping to inspect a flower or chase something only she can see. Her laughter carries easily across the park. "Slow down," Tess calls after her with a smile. "I am slow," Emily shouts back, clearly not slowing down at all. I watch them from the table as I help Dad finish arranging the food. "5 already," he says quietly. I nod. "Feels impossible. Kids grow faster than wars end," he says. I don't argue with that. Eventually Emily's running turns into curious wandering, which slowly turns into her hovering around the table once she realizes something important is about to happen. "Is it time yet?" she asks. "Almost," Tess replies. But almost takes forever. Mom laughs softly and lifts the cake box onto the table. "Not this time." Emily freezes. Her eyes widen. The box opens. Inside is exactly what she asked for, a chocolate cake covered in bright pink icing, decorated with small frosting flowers and swirls that spiral across the top. It's not professionally made. The decorations are uneven in places. But it's perfect. "Is it really mine?" Emily asks. "All yours," Tess says. Dad places 5 small candles carefully across the cake. The afternoon breeze flickers their flames once they're lit. Emily stares at them like they're the most important lights in the world. Everyone gathers around the table. For a moment, the sounds of the park fade away. No demons. No battle plans. No power humming beneath the surface. Just family standing together. "Make a wish," Mom says gently. Emily closes her eyes tightly. Her small hands fold together in front of her face as she thinks very hard. Then she blows. All 5 candles go out at once. Everyone cheers softly, and Emily immediately begins laughing as Tess cuts the cake into thick slices. Within minutes, Emily has frosting on her face. Chocolate crumbs scatter across the table. And the laughter continues. I lean back slightly, watching my family talk and joke around the table. Emily tries to lick icing off her fingers while Tess attempts unsuccessfully to keep her clean. For a moment, the wars, demons, and impossible powers feel distant. Almost unreal. The green light beneath my skin rests quietly. Emily's pink glow remains calm. Nothing is demanding our strength right now. And watching Emily laugh with frosting on her face while my family stands beside me, I remember something that sometimes gets lost between battles. These moments. The quiet ones. The small celebrations. The simple happiness of people you love. These are the reasons I keep fighting to protect this world. Not the victories. Not the power. Just this. Peace, even if only for a little while.